I personally believe that the whole banking system is about to change.
Before we start, we need to tell you up front we are not a licensed financial planning, accounting or law firm. This is simply an education program which will give you factual information. We do not give any general or specific advice around finance, business, investing, options trading or anything else. That is not what this presentation does. Please see a licensed financial planner when it comes to any investment advice you need.
We are live at this time for Edge Radio Australia's The Greater Wealth. Very excited about today's show because a lot to talk about. In fact, some of it is so hot off the press that you're going to see me playing with a mouse. And, you know, without the trap, okay, I'm going to do it live, okay? I'm going to actually try and find the videos in time, which is fantastic. The man sitting over there, the man with the computer, therefore the knowledge, is Derek Whittaker, ready for the show. The man behind the fantastic company called
Blue Sky Factory.
Oh, you've got to say it that way. That sounds rather flashy indeed. If you want to get some information on basically, you know, the greater wealth, in fact, creating some of that greater wealth for yourself and finding your life purpose and all those goodies, get on board.
BlueSkyFactory.com.au without the E, blue, E-L-U, sky.
Nice. Very, very nice. Now, let's hit the subjects of the day. What have we got on the agenda?
Well, I've been developing a new course, and actually some of the stuff we'll talk about we're dealing with in this new course. If you had concerns about how the banking system is changing, completely understand where you're coming from, because boy, oh boy, there is so much going on, not just in international spheres as well, which we've discussed a lot of in the last few weeks, locally as well. This is a big one that I came across this week on the weekend. Commonwealth Bank is going to stop lending to fossil fuel companies without genuine emissions plan. Now, you think about this. What they're saying is they're going to no longer offer money to fossil fuel companies that are not aligned with the Paris Agreement.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to.
And they have said the new direction in its latest climate report, published on the same day, posts close to $10 billion in full-year net profit. Now, this is dangerous because, okay, why do you want to fit in with the Paris climate thing? The activists are big. I get it. A lot of pressure from them in terms of, hey, you've got to be seen to do the right thing. But I'm getting to this. What is one of the backbones of this country? What generates it?
Oh, hang on. Yeah, go on.
Mining.
No,
So you're going to stop funding a lot of mining projects.
Yeah.
As our economies are really, really sick at the moment. You know, in terms of the international front, we saw the wobbles just a few weeks ago in relation to Japan raising its interest rates and the market overreact to that.
So true,
right?
So true indeed.
It's a house of cards, and we won't fund companies that don't do emissions on. It's just crazy.
It's just crazy, and I almost feel like why I paused. Okay, I was going to play a little game here because there is a pattern forming here. Okay, we had Australia who was riding on the sheep's back. Okay, well, you know what? We've stopped that. We can't have that. The agricultural side, they've killed that over the years. Now, of course, they're stopping the exports rather. Of the sheep and playing with those markets. They've destroyed industry in this country, right? All of these agreements, now mining, the whole economy in this country is based now on mining. Why don't we damage that? Why don't we destroy that too? Why don't we make countries like Australia and this beautiful country, why don't we make it completely vulnerable?
Look, they're not saying they're going to stop funding fossil fuel companies completely, but they have to have an emissions plan. That's the thing.
Well, it's kind of saying the same thing, mate.
We're talking coal, we're talking oil, and we're talking gas companies. Okay. So that is huge. And my big concern too is that Australia has limited oil in reserves. It gets it all from Singapore, imports it in.
Why is that the case?
We don't manufacture it ourselves.
Yeah, I know.
We don't have enough reserves. We would last maybe 4 weeks.
Yep. Yeah.
If they decided to cut the shipping routes from this country.
Do you know what we have got a lot of in this country though? No. I'm going to be very serious here. Okay. Natural gas, right? Okay. We could be energy independent if we used our own natural gas. Yeah. Cars can run on it, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And the government did subsidize.
They did for a while.
Gas tank installations into vehicles.
Sure did.
What was that, late 80s, early 90s?
No. It was, the last time they did it was in, I'm going to say.
It was after 2000.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It was. Well and truly. In fact, it was around GFC land.
Okay.
Yeah.
Around LPG. I did it.
Yeah,
Saved
so
a
did I.
ton.
So did I. Yeah, it's great. And I told the
saved
kids how
thousands.
wonderful we are because we're looking after the environment, the lower emissions. Oh, I read the entire brochure.
And you could also get a
Oh,
federal and a state grant at one
yeah,
point too.
you
You get both.
no, it was fantastic. That's how silly it was. I made a profit. I'm not even joking. I made a profit by putting one of our cars on LPG. Right?
Really?
Because the two grants for it actually added up to about $150 more than the cost of actually the whole thing. So I made $150 and I got lower fuel costs and I was better for the environment and I made a big fella of myself.
You had to have the boot to put it in.
Yes, absolutely. Which was a challenge because I at the time had like how many kids carried the I had 5 kids at the time.
Yeah.
So a boot is something you don't have when you've got 5 kids. So getting somewhere to put that tank. It's crazy, but I'm getting at the point that we could be energy independent.
Yeah.
We're not.
We could. And so this is a big concern when you now see banks starting to go, we aren't going to lend to these kind of businesses. How much interference could they potentially have as far as the development and progression of the Australian economy is concerned? All because of this whole climate agenda. That's starting to now affect jobs for everyday Australians. And that's a big concern. Watch that space, because what my concern is how many other nations how many other banks in Australia might jump on board. Santos was knocked back. Big gas giant Santos was knocked back by CBA, and CBA is not providing financing to Santos. Market forces saying that NAB, Westpac, and ANZ are in negotiations with Santos to perhaps come to the table for that. Yeah.
Okay. So you Tesla driving, virtue signaling idiots who work for these companies, because that's what they are. Okay. They want to have these dinner parties basically and big fella themselves, right? Are literally going to have control of these, well, really the energy prices, and that flows down to the everyday Aussie. That is just, it makes me angry. Okay. This country is so full of red tape, green tape, black tape. Do you know what I want to do with that tape? I want to wrap it around these idiots until they just can't make any more noise.
It's a big one. It's a big one when the banks are getting concerned, and watch the space as far as NAB, how they respond to it as well.
Well, yeah, and banks are having to do things very differently. Things are changing, mate. Yeah.
Well, they are. They are in big ways. Now, if you start looking at what's happening on the international front as well, Mastercard is planning to cut 3% of its staff worldwide amid overhaul of what it wants to do with its projected future. Now, this doesn't sound like a lot, but when you actually put it in actual numbers, that is working out to about in New York 1,000 people alone, but globally you're talking about 33,400 people. So
how many?
33,000.
It's a lot of people. It's a lot of families.
Mastercard is an international organization.
Sure is, yeah.
That is huge in terms of its operating expenses. You're going to see this change a lot, I believe, as the world starts having to adjust. I personally believe that the whole banking system is about to change.
I hope so. Now, how old is the current system we're using right now? How old is it?
Well, when you talk about the SWIFT system, it was developed, I think, in 1973 from memory. So, it's over 50 years old, which allowed people to do cross-border payments from nation to nation. The problem with that system is a lot of intermediaries in there, which means that there's a lot that have to talk to each other. And of course, your expenses go up when you're trying to move money around the world and the globe. And a lot more can go wrong in terms of the system as well, because, you don't have a lot of control in it if the banks muck it up. And why do I say that? Oh, no, the banks are safe. I actually had a client, I've called my local branch, tried to get the SWIFT number so that somebody in Europe could send me some funds, quite a significant amount of money. They mucked it up, the bank, gave it to the client. It cost them over 200 euros to try to get the money back into their account. And my local bank would take absolutely no responsibility for it. Didn't want to know about it, all this sort of stuff. And it's not good PR for a client when you're just onboarding them into your business, especially if you help international clients. So, that's a big concern. Now, with the technology changing as it is, with the cryptocurrency, the blockchain, it can be done for a fraction of the price, and in some cases in seconds, right, globally. And that is really making the banks scramble to keep relevant in those big transactions. You're not hearing about this. It's all behind the scenes. It's kind of like, don't look here. But you see indications now, where I was reading even this morning, that Wells Fargo, also in addition to JP Morgan, will accept certain cryptocurrencies for payment for credit card payments and also mortgage.
I've heard
Now,
this. Yeah.
why would they want that? Is it because a huge amount of their client base is holding cryptocurrency and they go, well, we want that? Or is it something else?
Or do they want to get hold of the tech?
And that's what I'm suspecting here, because they're
okay.
actually being very specific as to which cryptocurrencies they want. And it's like, okay, if I look at that and I look at usually the payments required for a credit card or even a mortgage, I'm going, the numbers aren't adding up here. It's like, this is interesting. I'm thinking that they're probably wanting the asset more than anything.
I think you're bang on there. I think that, okay, we're talking about a system here that, as you just said, it's over 50 years old, right? And look, so am I, so don't throw me away just yet. But it's past its prime. It hasn't really been fit for purpose for quite a while, as far as it's been clunky and open to so much misuse and, quite frankly, a little bit of corruption too for a very long time. So, and every system is, don't get me wrong, as things refine. But with these new systems, with blockchains, that kind of setup, there is, I can understand why your big banks, your big four certainly, would be wanting to try and preserve the other one, the old system, because quite frankly, they can control it.
Yeah.
And apart from just control, by taking those processes out, you're right. There's so much money that they're missing out on. This is a little sidestep, but work with me here. I have been noticing, I looked at my bank statement just yesterday, and what a depressing experience that is, because, okay, all of the push to stop using cash. Oh my word. Every single thing that I have purchased, every service I've used has a little fee on it, right? A lot of people still don't understand that, right? And there's 70 cents on here, there's $1.50 on here, there's 7 cents on here. Like, there's just cost after cost after cost after cost. Now, obviously, if they refine the system, the banks aren't going to have these excuses anymore, right? There won't be any need for that. So they're looking at their bottom line and their control.
Well, in addition to that, the New York Post has really come out with an interesting statement that the Trump organization is announcing a major initiative concerning cryptocurrency coming out very, very soon. And what it could imply is that rather than waiting for months for loan approval, you can get it within seconds.
Oh,
and
wow.
Even the money in your account within seconds. Now, that's a big changer because, custodianship is one thing that the banks do, but also the other thing where they make their big money is in lending, right?
Of course it is.
And of course, investments. So in the custodianship, it's not actually controlling your money. It's actually being able to use your money to invest with. They're able to take a percentage of it and leverage that as far as their investments concerned. And they can then lend that out. Now, if people are doing less custodianship, and also going to other notions of getting lending, and this is what the Trump guys are saying, the Sons and Eric and these guys are saying, is they can do that without prejudice now, because how many times have people been not meeting the bank criteria for a loan?
Good point.
And suffered prejudice because of, and he's saying we've suffered it ourselves as a family, right? And so this is taking it way to a whole different level, going, all right, there's less prejudice. It's simply by the numbers. It's simply by the facts, and getting loans that way. This is what the technology.
This is not like the old days of getting in the shirt and tie and your Sunday best and going into seeing the bank manager. And you think about, okay, in real world terms, you think about anybody who has got their own business, right? Anyone who's self-employed, anybody who's got a side small business, all that kind of thing, the rigmarole and the rubbish and the extra interest rate, the high interest rate, and all the kind of carrying you've got to go through to get lending, when it is so prohibitive. It's like when people want a house loan, okay, want to get a mortgage, right? Okay, mortgage till death, but people want them, no problem. If you're going to do that, it is crazy that a bank says, hang on. I'm sorry, you can't make this. You can't make your payments. We're not going to lend you the money to buy a house because, right, the payment on the house will be $500 a week. So please go away and pay $800 a week on rent, because we know you can afford the $800 of rent, but you can't afford $500. It's social control. It's stopping people from owning their own homes. It's keeping people out of that world.
Well, yeah, and when you understand how the system's built, It's huge. And
Yeah.
obviously we can't go into the whole science of that. We'd be here all day. But
Get comfy. Let's do this.
Liz Truss, the former Prime Minister of the UK,
right,
of England, just came out with a very interesting statement on a show recently.
Yeah.
Now, of course, she's been getting a lot of bad press as to what she did with the UK economy. She almost crashed it. In terms of the bonds market, that she was in there for what, 14 days or something.
Really short amount of time.
Short period of time. But we are now starting to hear the other side of the coin, so to speak, if you pardon the pun, as to what actually went on.
What I found out when I got into number 10 is I thought that if I got to the top of the tree, I would be able to implement those conservative policies.
So you think once you're prime minister, as a little girl, I was thinking, if I get prime minister, I'll be like Churchill, change the country.
Exactly.
That's not how it works.
Exactly. And what I discovered was that I was not holding the levers. The levers were held by the Bank of England, by the Office of Budget Responsibility. They weren't held by the Prime Minister or the Chancellor. And I think that's a massive, massive problem.
Hang on. You're saying the central bank, the Bank of England, is one of the things that controls it. Are you a conspiracy theory person? You almost sound like Worm. You're MAGA.
What I'm saying, Steve, is that if the Bank of England governor can't be sacked and the Prime Minister can be sacked, then the Bank of England governor is going to have more power than the Prime Minister. And that is a problem in a democracy.
And that's a problem not just on that respect in terms of lending. It's been a problem since the banking system, the Bank of England, was formed, because he who will borrow is slave to the lender.
Right. From somebody who I've just discovered cannot be fired. Wow. Unbelievable. What a position of incredible power. And look, I don't know much about her politics. I do remember she was in for a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
And it was basically, it was for a while there, the leader of the UK was whoever was winning the game of Uno at the time, right? Like, it was just ridiculous. Less than a month for a couple of prime ministers, I believe.
Yeah, Boris got out.
Oh,
it was just change.
Just an absolute joke. So, look, you would think, like, we've all got this thought that getting to the top job, you'll actually have some power and you'll actually be able to use it and implement the things that your constituents have asked for, right? And you'd actually be able to serve the people. All of those things. You think you'd be in a position to do that. You haven't.
It's so much control there.
Yeah.
And I think it gives you now another perspective on what is going on in the United States right now. Is this war of overhauling an old system, which has infiltrated not just banking, but politics,
big time,
industry, business. It filters all through. It's a very big tangled web. In terms of this overhaul, we've been talking about the BRICS nations and where they stand.
We have.
And for many months, we've been observing and watching how they are moving away from the petrodollar in terms of using the US dollar as the means of exchange between the nations. They're doing all the different deals between them. Yep. I always feel like we've got to backtrack and say who the BRICS are. They originally started with Brazil, Russia, India, China, and then South Africa was added later. And now we've got 159 countries. They've wanted to form their own bank, this alliance of nations. And they are looking, to some reports, to create a SWIFT alternative. And that will be its own BRICS payment system, doing a lot of deals, of course, in alliance trade deals and limiting the need for the US dollar. And they're saying in some reports that there is a potential launch coming in as early as October this year, which is just a few weeks away. So this space is moving very, very rapidly.
Very, very quickly indeed. Now, you said 159 countries, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's 3/4. Before, what I was thinking about, my maths was out, I was thinking about it being 2/3. So that's 3/4 of the world's nations.
195 countries in the world.
There you go. You go. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So that's going to be a bit of a game changer. This is the thing. This show is not, we talk about the fact that it marries, finance and politics, right? But this is, again, very much about life purpose, right? When you've got the skills, when you use this information, you can actually find out what you're about and what, this is it's a self-help group. That's what it is. Take no notice of me on that one. But it's very, very true. I think that once you understand the world a little bit more, when you get away from the corporate media, when you start to realize that these things are happening on purpose, it does. I know it creates drive to find your purpose.
It's like a game of chess right now, watching the nations move and which strategy they're playing. Which tactic they're doing because things are changing around them very, very quickly.
Very much agreed. And the comment just came in there, and this is beautifully put, Mr. Carter. It is literally has become AA for finance nuts. So there we go. It is a self-help group. So, all right. I'm sorry to break you off tangent there, but with the BRICS nations, we're talking about such a big number here, 3/4 of the countries, of the nations.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be fundamentally a big change, because years ago we had the Iron Curtain, and we kind of had an us and them situation where we had finance on the east and the west, right? Do you think that'll ever happen again with the BRICS nations, or do you think that because of tech and because of crypto and because of the blockchain, there'll be a lot of crossover? What do you reckon?
I think there's big concerns long term. I think in the short, medium term, I think there's incredible excitement and opportunities. I think in the long term, I think there's a lot of concerns about a one global payment system in relation to one currency, one world government type.
I've got a lot of concerns about that.
And I think they're legitimate concerns. And I think, we've covered it with the country singers' comments about the mark of the beast, all this sort of stuff, and controlling system. I think the key to remember is system. And I think this is what we saw coming out of the 4 years that we had systems in play that were controlling freedom of movement, freedom of association, freedom of buying and selling. Those were the big concerns that people were doing when bank accounts were frozen.
Well, look, some of us may think that there might be a system in play right now that's got some monkeypox involved. Look, excuse me for being cynical, but really, we're heading towards another big US election. We've got obviously a big election next year in Australia. It's almost like it's almost like a system is putting something into play to control people, so that maybe we'll have to mail things in.
It's an attempt. It's
just ridiculous.
It's not going to work. People have see right through it. And
no, but look, I wish you were right. And you are to a big extent. Okay, a big part of the population of the earth has woken up to what's going on, right? Okay, but a big chunk of it is still going, oh, the box in the corner of my room tells me to think this way. Please, you know what? Have some power. Turn that mainstream media, that corporate media off, that programming. That's why it's a TV program. Turn it off. I
tune into it from time to time to listen to, what lies are they spouting now?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I just
use
it exactly the same way. I think about a lot of things here, but it's when you break free of this, your life is so much better. Knowledge is power. It's good to know about these things, but to actually know what is being done in the control of the finance world, in the control of the politics world, in the control of the social standing of the world, you're a lot freer.
Well, it's fascinating with that beast system. It says in the scriptures, when you look at it, it says, "Come out of her, my children." The Babylonian system, the merchants are crying and weeping for her as she crumbles. Really? Now the system is dying. And so I've really, on a personal level, really gone through, well, what does that mean for me personally? How do I come out of that system? And I've found what I believe a certain big step towards that, which I've been implementing and putting into my own finances.
Okay.
I've got a course that I'm teaching about that.
Good.
From next Tuesday. So if you want to be a part of that, get in touch with it, blueskyfactory.com.au.
Email address is running across the bottom of the screen right now.
Please mention Edge Radio Australia so I know where you're from. And that's what I'm trying to empower people, because I also see great opportunity in here to that wealth will go up and increase if you play it smart.
If you play it smart. Yeah. You're right. But
you got to do things differently.
You got to be different about this, and you got to also realize that with change is opportunity, right? Don't doom and gloom it. Okay, be aware of it. Know what's going on to a big extent, but go.
It's staying 3 steps ahead of the game, and
that's right.
and you see what's coming, and you go, okay. I think the hardest thing in that is timing, is working out when it will occur, what timing will happen.
Know when to hold them, know when to fold them, but definitely the most important thing, know when to run away. Right?
Yeah. So. Yeah, but you've got to realize, guys, this whole banking system is changing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
and it's very quiet about it. Very quiet about it.
Love your guys who are online. Love to hear your thoughts about how it's changing and how it's going to affect your lives and your everyday sort of way of going about it as well.